description. I have grave concern that what 9 generations have built up in the Rondymense shipyard GmbH might decline and disappear in the next one. My body heir, Lady Rosala replied, rather more dismayed than pleased by Lord Tionel's remarks, will have no need for unsuitable bequests, Lord Tionel. You were happy enough to find 10,000 shares of Rondymense's stock in her birth gift portfolio, he remarked. Then he went on in his softest, most persuasive voice, his blue eyes dancing, though his face had assumed a properly repentant expression. Don't be angry with me, Resi. There's nothing unsuitable about a firm that's been designing spaceships and in profit for over 200 years. Surely the financier in you appreciates that. The point was well taken. Lady Rosala had to admit in all fairness. She herself had increased her holdings and wealth due to a nearly infallible instinct for the profitability of new businesses. Tionel was not given to casual remarks. She knew very well that his body heir, Vestron, a decade older than her Nimisha, was a disgrace to his sire. He seemed to have no interest in anything that wasn't thrilling, exciting, or totally new, which included dangerous hunts and rather nasty jokes on those who might be considered close friends. Tionel could do worse than sign the Rondymense yard over to his girl child if he wished it to continue. Nimisha need not do anything in such a well-run establishment. Rosala didn't know how much Tionel did in the administrative end of the business, but she was quite capable of instructing her daughter in the financial aspects sufficiently to keep the yard in profit, especially as many contracts from the Admiralty were awarded to Rondymense Shipyard GmbH. It was always good to be in with the Admiralty, especially as she had recently acquired the controlling interest in a small freighter company. I have never faulted you on your business acumen, Ty, she replied, relenting as they both watched Nimisha's careful reassembly of a robotic toy, the gift of her great-uncle Damison. While expressing appreciation for the gift, Lady Rosala wondered if Uncle knew which sex the child was. But it was certainly the sort of thing Uncle would give. It made the most appalling noise. Children liked noise. Rosala didn't. You've always been lucky with your designers. My designers? Lord Tionel looked insulted and gestured at Nimisha. I'm my designer. I am responsible for all the innovations at the yard, and half of what the Vegan fleet uses. It was Lady Rosala's turn to be surprised, and despite her many years of schooling her expression to show only what she wished an audience to see, it was a full minute before she could respond with cool dignity. You never mentioned that, Tionel. It was as near a reprimand as she could bring herself to make. Members of the first families had to set good examples to everyone, even their peers, but they delegated duties, they didn't do them. I thought everyone knew, Tionel replied with a properly cool indifference and a shrug of one shoulder. Ah, very nice, Nimmy, he said as his 6-year-old offspring presented him with the repaired toy. He set it on the floor and pressed the activating stud. It began its series of acrobatics, making Nimmy clap her hands. What did you alter in its circuitry? She's made it quiet, Lady Rosala said, her voice echoing her delight. So Nimisha had noticed her distaste for the sound it had made. Such a dear child. Well done, Nimmy, well done, Lord Tionel clapped his hands and, without a glance at his former contractual spouse, held his arms out to the child. She promptly climbed into his lap and put her arms around his neck, a show of affection that caused Lady Rosala to regard Lord Tionel with dismay. He noticed. Nonsense, Resi. I am her father, and I like to cuddle my children. How exceedingly old-fashioned of you, Lady Rosala said, seething with a variety of emotions, the most dominant being envy. Nimisha would never have dared to climb onto her mother's lap. But then, Rosala had never indicated that such a display would have been acceptable. Lady Rosala did not like her exquisite self handled. What with Nimisha's preoccupation with mechanical things, her fingers and hands were rarely as clean as they should be, though Nurse did the best she could. Oddly enough, Nimisha did not have even a smudge of dirt on her clothing. If Tionel wished to have his fashionable tunic and trousers marred by dirty fingers, that was his choice. He had always been a tactile person. If she had once found this trait of his charming, she did not think unessential personal contact dignified, certainly not in their social sphere. At least Nimisha was still very young, a child, so such a display could be condoned. She and her sire seemed to have established a bond that was not entirely due to the child's interest in taking things apart. It did the child no harm to receive paternal caresses.